Let's see here, as a point of interest, I guess we will continue on with our usual agenda, where we will have public comments. If you do plan on taking a public comment during this special meeting, please get the comment card to Mrs. Kellard at this time.
Go ahead.
We are gonna hold off on doing the pledge for our regular board meeting this afternoon, and we'll just go ahead and move forward with the roll call. Haney.
Present.
Hanson.
Present.
Maker.
Present.
Montague.
Present.
Murphy.
Present.
And Lund. Present. All right, I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and seconded. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, our purpose of this special board meeting is to fill a board vacancy that we have this currently due to Mrs. Shayna's resignation. And so we have candidates here that have applied for the opening, and we will be interviewing them this afternoon. And first up on the interview schedule is Mrs. Katie Odell. I see Katie is here, so thank you for being here, Katie. Just as a point of sort of procedure, we do have your letter of interest with your resume that you submitted. We have a small series of questions that we will go through as a board. Each board member will kind of ask one question, and then we will probably keep the interview to about 15 minutes or so and for each candidate. And then at the end of the interviews, each board member does basically vote on the first choice, second choice. We tally those, and the majority will get the vacant seat, in which they will take oath and take their seat today. So for our regular 6 o'clock meeting. All right, so with that, we will go ahead and get started, and I will ask the first question, which is just for you to share a little bit more with us about who you are, your experiences with Linden Community Schools, and what school district or community activities and organizations you have been involved in.
So I am a wife and mother of 3. We moved to the area about 7 years ago from central Illinois. In moving here, my children were much younger, so I had taken time away from teaching at that time to stay home with younger kids. I also have 2 of my boys are autistic, and so that required a lot of extra time as well to be putting in for therapies and early interventions. Once we moved to Linden and my kids started getting involved in school, they were Linden Community School students. We fell in love with the community in and of itself. The teachers were phenomenal. We really enjoyed building relationships because we didn't have any family in the area. So we really did build a lot of friendships and relationships that became like a second family to us in the area. As my kids got older and my time freed up at home and they were in school more, I decided I wanted to go back to work. Wasn't sure if I wanted to get back into teaching or if there was something else I wanted to be doing, because once you have kids, teaching can be a very challenging position to be in. So I actually took a position in Linden Schools as a paraprofessional just to kind of dip my feet back in the water and see if that was really something I was interested in. Absolutely loved it. Worked with Erin Stark for a couple of years as a parapro in the CI classroom. Fell in love with that. When she was going to be retiring, I looked at going back to school because I knew I would need different certification in addition to my bachelor's. So worked on my master's at the same time as I took over the teaching position for her in that CI classroom. A year and a half ago, there were challenges, and so I found that Linden Schools, though I still love so many people here and so many aspects of the community and the district, there were some challenges as far as aligning to what worked best for me and my family, and so pursued another teaching position that became available to me. I've been at Heartland Schools now for a year and a half. So as far as what I've been doing in the community, we're still involved in robotics. When we moved to the community, there was no lower elementary robotics program, and so I pursued that because I had kids that were very interested in that. So I created and ran that program for 2 years, just within the community. Once my kids aged out of it and they didn't want to participate anymore, I let that go and hoped another parent would take it over so that I could do the activities that my kids were currently interested in. Unfortunately, my parent picked that up. So
Katie, I've got the next question, and the question is, why are you running for the Linden Board of Education, and if appointed, what would you prioritize?
The reason I'm running is I think as a teacher with a background in education and still a member of the community with very close ties and relationships, I'm very interested in serving the community for the board, and really looking at how best to serve the district. If I were to be appointed, my biggest priority is students and what's best for students as well as teachers, because I believe firmly that teachers' working environment is students' learning environment, and I think those two things go hand in hand. So that being said, my other concern is not being very myopic, but being able to have a broader perspective, because even though those may be my key goals is to focus on students and teachers and what's best for them, there's a bigger picture at play. As a board, you're not just looking at what's good for one or two teachers in this building or in this particular grade level. There's a whole district to be accounted for.
I'm next. So, what is your understanding of a school member's roles and responsibilities and how that differs from the superintendent and administration?
So my understanding of a school board member would be that you're not looking at the day-to-day function. That's really what administration is doing. They are focused more on how the building's running, how is curriculum being implemented, things like that. That is their strength and concentration and their education level as well. For us as board members, the concept would be to be looking at stakeholders, what's at stake, what do we provide for the district as a whole. I know a lot of it plays into finances and looking at things like that. So as a board member, I think that you're not just looking at the day-to-day function, and that's important to keep in mind. It's important to look at what is, again, that wider scope. What are we looking at there?
Okay, I'm next. Hi, Katie. As a board member, you'll be asked to make decisions on what's best for the students and the district, putting aside personal opinions or what's best for you and your family. How will you manage that?
Okay, so to set aside your personal opinions, I feel that's something I am pretty good at. I've been told I'm very good at being able to look at things. If I have a conversation with someone and we can have a good, calm, rational conversation, and if we can both come away with a better understanding of it, I'm able to take on other people's perspective and lens and consider that. I'm able to set aside my personal dislikes of anything and be objective about situations. I think that's displayed in my current administration, works really well with me and has actually brought me into some more leadership type roles this year. They've asked me to do some trainings and things that I then bring back because there might be struggles or contentions, and I'm one of the people that's really good in my building about being able to work through situations like that and keep the personal aspect out of it. So I would bring that to the table, just my personal ability in that. I think also it helps to a degree, this is gonna sound a little odd, but I think it helps to not have lots of family in the area necessarily. Though I do have friends who are kind of like a chosen second family, I think sometimes when you have lots of blood family in the area, sometimes that gets a little sticky and a little messy sometimes. So I think having the ability to look at things a little more objectively, because there's maybe not that level of history going into it for me, is a little bit easier as well.
Okay, I think I'm next, Mrs. Lobdell. What is your vision for education in Linden Community Schools?
My vision would be that student success would be
Katie, what skills / experiences do you have that will benefit the Linden Community Schools Board of Education?
So I think I mentioned a couple skills that I'm pretty good at hearing other perspectives, bringing that into play when making decisions. Being able to have good communication with people is also really key. Some experiences I have that I think would be beneficial is, as a teacher, I have served on numerous committees. This year there's been legislation that's come out in regards to, this is a little jargon, but least restrictive environment. And so I'm currently sitting on a committee that's looking at what's best practices and what are legal requirements for least restrictive environments, and bringing that back to my building, communicating that and helping to implement that. This spring, I also sat on a hiring committee to bring on a new teacher into our building. So that was a really interesting perspective to take on, because it wasn't just about what did I like, it was we were having to take in a whole team and a whole community as a building and what would play best into our whole community.
All right, well, those were the questions that we have for you. Just as I mentioned, as part of our procedure, we do have 4 candidates this evening, so we have 15 minutes scheduled for each candidate. So the next interview will be coming in here just in a couple of minutes. And then at the end of the last interview, all candidates who have stayed, hopefully everybody, can come back into the room, and we will go through tallying our votes at that time. But thank you for being here and your interest in this position.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
appreciate it.
There you go. Yep.
Hi, Tabitha. So thanks for being here and your interest in this board seat that was vacated by Mrs. Shana. I know this is not your first time you've been interested in the board seat, so I know you've kind of done this before, and that a lot has changed with that procedure, but just as a reminder, we will go through, we have a series of 6 questions, so each board member will ask you a question. We will try to limit your response time to about 15 minutes. We have 4 candidates this evening. Once all 4 candidates have completed their interview, everybody places their choice, and then we will read those choices aloud, and the person with the most points will be appointed to the board seat this evening for the remainder of this term. So, to start things off, I would like for you to share a little bit with us about who you are and your experiences with Linden Community Schools, and what school district or community activities and organizations you've been involved in.
My name is Tabitha Rambert. My name was Tabitha Overton. I'm born and raised in Linden, Michigan. Multi-generational families. I've got grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts and uncles who also graduated from the school. My dad's still on the high school gymnasium for the track record for shot put. Kind of proud there. I was on homecoming court at school. I was on National Honor Society. I got all in AP classes. Cheerleading, track. The school gave a lot to me. We moved to Gaines to a new built house in 2005 after I graduated from Michigan State University in 2003 with a business degree in management. We really liked the area out there. We started off in Gaines Community Schools, and I noticed there was a major difference in the opportunities that Gaines and Swartz Creek School District was offering our children versus what I had experienced in Linden. So we waited to save up and have the opportunity to come back to school. We did do school of choice, which I was thankful for, but a 30-minute drive each way is not very opportunistic. So we moved out here again back in 2013, and my kids have attended ever since, first grade through senior year, which our son just graduated this year. My daughter will be graduating next year, and then my niece is in 5th grade. So I've got a lot of personal investment, as well as all my friends who are staff members of this school district.
I have the next question, Tabitha, and thanks for your continued interest and support of the district. Why are you running or in the running for this position? And if appointed, what would you prioritize?
I decided to do this appointment because I'm going to be running for school board again this year. I'm very interested in public education and hoping that every student that succeeds in Linden can either go to college, trade schools, do something that furthers their lives for the benefits, and then if they want to go away for a little bit, whether it's school, start a family somewhere else, I hope that they want to come back here when they start having a family, because our school district is so excellent compared to some of the others. Not that the others aren't good, I just happen to feel that this district is excellent. And we put out some pretty awesome people, if you want to call it our projects, it's school education. There's a lot of awesome people that have graduated this school and done awesome things in their careers. And grandparents are proud. It's a good feeling to see so many that stay in the community and leave and come back. And it's a small town, it's a rural area. And a lot of people knows who's who, and I love that feeling. I really want my kids and future grandchildren out for a while, and my great-grandchildren will also experience everything that this school district gave me.
Thank you.
What is your understanding of a board member's role and responsibilities and how that differs from the superintendent and the administration?
The superintendent handles the day-to-day operations and the small details, gathers the data from the staff, the teachers, students, community members. Where the board members do more policies, look at the local guidelines, the federal guidelines, the state guidelines, and make sure that every child has every opportunity to succeed with every opportunity that there is, whether there's grants, but the school board has a more team member focus on policies and guidelines, where you hope that your superintendent does the best superintendent that does all the micromanaging.
I get it. As a board member, you'll be asked to make decisions on what's best for the students and the district. Putting aside personal opinions or what's best for you or your family, how will you manage that?
I feel I'm pretty good at doing that all the time. Even when I was working at a restaurant, I was at Applebee's in Fenton, and I would have many, many different types of clientele. You can't always make everybody happy, but you do what's best for the child first, then the parents, and then the community members as well. We want an overall great district. It's not just what you believe in, it's the majority of your district, and knowing what your community, your individual community needs for your school district. Not every school district in a small town is going to have the same needs and wants as a large city. So it's very important to look at the data of what is needed at that time and have future goals and short-term goals and longevity goals to continue the excellence that Linden School District puts out every year.
Thank you, Mrs. Randberg, for applying for this position. My question for you is, what is your vision for education in Linden Community Schools?
I want our education to always remain top-notch. I do think it's top-notch, however, I would like the reading scores and the math scores to go a little higher. I do think that the pandemic kind of made every school district fall behind, but I want to be setting the bar of look how Linden did it. We were able to catch our students up, and then if a neighboring school district might be struggling, say, hey, reach out to us, we'll show you the template that we were able to do, use it. We're not in competition, we want everybody to succeed because we are a large county, and if one school district can share all the pluses, and even some of our setbacks, hey, we tried this, it didn't work, that's the way that we move forward. We want safe schools, we want a good community, we want prosperous people. This is how we do it. It starts with the schools. You have good schools, you have people want to come, especially parents, and move to districts that have good schools. So having a great school sets you apart from other neighboring districts of school choice.
Thank you very much.
Tabitha, what skills / experiences do you have that will benefit the Linden Community Schools Board of Education?
Well, I think I have a gift of talking. I can talk to all kinds of people. I'm pretty fearless for most of the time. I'm patient, I'm calm. I try not to be emotional. I'm effective at verbal and written communication. I'm good at multitasking. I'm also very good with children. I've been involved in the Little League. I've done so many chaperone trips for the schools. I observe body language. I'm always reading the room. So I think I would be very effective with all types of concerns, whether they were small or large.
All right, well, thank you for answering our questions and also keeping us to our timeline, which is quite tight for the situation. But again, just as a point of procedure, we'll just ask that you step out of the room while we interview the next couple of candidates, and then everyone will be able to come back in at the end when we select the appointed member.
Great.
Thank you. Hi, Rachel. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your interest in this Board of Education seat that was vacated by Mrs. Shana. We appreciate your interest and your application and taking your time to be here with us this afternoon. Just sort of as procedure, we have a series of 6 questions. Each board member will ask you a question, try to get a feel for your interest in the position. And then at the end of the interviews, there are 4 total interviews today, so there's 1 more after yours. Board members will make their first and second choice selection. We will read aloud the votes, and then the person with the most amount of points will be appointed to the seat until the November election. So we are trying to move along on a pretty tight time frame this evening. So I'm just going to jump right into our first question. And we want to ask if you can please share with us a little bit about who you are and your experiences with Linden Community Schools and what school district or community activities and organizations you've been involved in.
Okay, so my name is Rachel Kincaid. Obviously, I have a background as a teacher. I taught middle school and high school. My majors in English, my minors in speech communications. I have 4 kids in the district. I have 2 that will be at Linden Middle School next year, 1 at Central and 1 at Hyatt Elementary. As far as involvement, I try to get involved with PALS whenever there's an opportunity or a need, whether or not my kids are involved. Chaperone school trips, and I will be volunteering the football games this coming football season. Looking forward to that.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Rachel. I've got the next question, and it's why are you interested in this position with the Linden Board of Education? And if appointed, what will you prioritize?
I think I just really want to take an opportunity to dedicate some of my free time to give back to my kids in the community, focusing on school improvement and ensure that all the kids in the district have opportunities to the best possible education.
I always forget when it's my turn. So what is your understanding of a school board member's role and responsibilities and how that differs from the superintendent and the administration?
So for school board, my understanding is they focus on goal setting, evaluation and designation of superintendent, staffing, budget, facility improvements. The superintendent and administrators are more focused on the day-to-day activities within the school, but we should all be able to work in collaboration with each other.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
As a board member, you'll be asked to make decisions on what's best for the students and the district, putting aside personal opinions or what's best for you or your family. How will you manage that?
I'm pretty used to different opinions. I've got a big family and 4 kids, so being able to collaborate with other people is pretty important. I think that there are 7 positions on the school board because it's important to be able to look at other viewpoints
Ms. Kincaid, what is your vision for education in the Linden Community Schools?
Just an inclusive environment for the students where all students feel safe. I think that's really important that kids come to school feeling both physically and emotionally safe so that the focus can be on education and learning and not, other issues. Having good access to the best, facilities and textbooks and all of those things as well.
Thank you.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
What skills slash experiences do you have that will benefit the Linden Community Schools Board of Education?
Well, I have the perspective of being a former educator and that experience working closely with students, not in this district, but in other districts. And I've got past experience as a team building facilitator as well, so working in small groups, settings, working with others, collaborating.
All right. Well, we went through those questions real quick. No, that's all right. Don't be sorry. Like I mentioned before, we will complete all the interviews and then we'll cast our votes. We will read aloud the votes and then the person with the most number of votes will be appointed to the seat for our regular 6 o'clock meeting this evening. So we would ask that you just step outside while we complete our final interview and then we'll come get all the candidates once that's completed. Thank you for your interest in the position. Hi, John. That's you, yep. All right, very good. Thank you for being here this afternoon and your interest in this school board seat that was vacated by Mrs. Shana. Just as sort of a point of procedure, we will go through, we have a series of 6 questions, so each board member will ask a question, hear your responses, and then once we have completed the interviews, which you are the 4th and final interview for this afternoon, so once your interview is completed, everyone will cast their vote, and then we will read the votes aloud. The person with the most amount of points from the vote will be appointed to the seat until the November election and take the seat immediately this evening for our 6 o'clock meeting. Okay, so I will kick things off with just a kind of a basic question. If you could please share with us who you are, a little bit your experiences with Linden Community Schools, and what school, district, or community activities and organizations you've been involved in.
But I've never really been a part of this. Is my first opportunity to give back to the community as far as an education purposes. I do think I do have a lot to offer on that side. Just through my upbringing, I've had a lot of education, and I've always kind of been involved in the news and what's best for students in that part.
John, I have the next question for you, and it's why are you interested in this position on the Board of Education, and if appointed, what will you prioritize?
My interest came as part of me wanting to, I think I have a strong analytical mind and a moral compass. I really do love Linden. I've moved here about 9 years ago and just fell in love with it. And I do think it keeps that little Linden, small community feel, but very nice procedures for people. And I think the focus would be to continue on the path that's already going, and probably to prioritize the curriculum. I think that'd be the number one thing, just to make sure that they're getting, the important lessons to be learned in school. And then, obviously, probably second to that would probably be the educators, because those are the ones that need to relay that message. So, probably number one would be the curriculum, what's being taught, and then also who's teaching them. I think that's how I prioritize it.
Thank you.
My turn. Hi, John. So what is your understanding of a school member's roles and responsibilities and how that differs from the administration and superintendent?
So I'm pretty new, I won't lie on that side, but the administration, I think, is the one who kind of implements and oversees, and then the other ones are the ones that carry it out. So we would be kind of the governing factor, making sure everybody's equipped properly to make the right kind of decisions. And then on the education side, they're the ones that are actually doing the day-to-day operations, relaying that message and that framework and stuff.
Hi, Don. As a board member, you'll be asked to make decisions on what's best for the students and the district, putting aside personal opinions or what's best for you or your family. How will you manage that?
Sorry, one more time. I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry. As a board member, you'll be asked to make decisions on what's best for the students and the district, putting aside personal opinions or what's best for you and your family. How will you manage that?
So I think I have a very strong analytical mind. I've been in business for a long time. I kind of step away from having those personal feelings all the time when I make decisions. I try to take it from all angles and really use that. And then I think with my moral compass and my analytical background, it's how I kind of go to day-to-day decision making. I don't, I obviously have beliefs for my family, but if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. I use the KISS philosophy too.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, I guess I'm up next, Mr. Anderson. What is your vision for the education in Linden Community Schools?
My vision for the education would be to make sure that they kind of stay back to the kind of the roots. I don't want changing too much, because I feel like we were educated young, good, and I want kind of those similar things to go over. I think sometimes political agendas get involved, and I don't want to see that at all in education. And I kind of want good fundamentals more on the education side. I don't want, the noise. That's my vision.
Good, thank you.
Well,
Hi, John. What skills / experiences do you have that will benefit the Linden Community Schools Board of Education?
Going back to being a business owner, I've had to make tough decisions in this new role that I'm in now as owner of Stevens Glass. Prior to that, I was an account manager in sales, so I had to build relationships on that side. So I really do think that having some of those tough decision-making scenarios throughout my life puts me in a great position to make tough decisions if they need to be.
All right, well, thank you for responding to our questions. So at this point, like I mentioned, we will kind of take a minute as a board to review our notes, make our own individual decisions, and then we will read aloud our decisions to the group, and the board member that will be appointed this evening will then join us for the 6 o'clock regular board meeting. So I don't know, I asked the others to leave, but I'm asking you, I guess, to stay. But you can sit somewhere else if you'd like, so you're not in the hot seat. And we'll get the others back in here, and maybe you guys can just give us a couple minutes and we'll keep moving, so, thank you.
Just as a reminder to the board, because I remember asking this question before, we have a opportunity to put our first and second choice down, but you actually don't have to make the second choice if you don't want to. So I just wanted to remind you all of that as well.
All right, is everyone all set? I was just gonna have, thank you. All right, so we will, thank you again, all of you, for your interest in the position and your interest in continuing to make Linden Community Schools a better and a great place, and even a better place than it already is. So at this time, Mr. Soselski is collecting the ballots. Mrs. Callard, I believe, will read them aloud, or I'll read them aloud. Mrs. Callard will read them aloud. I will do the tallying and add up the points, and I'll make sure my math is good, and then we'll go from there. So we should have 6 ballots, yeah.
Okay, so Board Member Haney's first choice was John Reinerson, second choice Katie O'Dell. Brooke Hansen's first choice is Rachel Candidate Kincaid, and second choice John Reinerson. Mr. Montague's first choice is John Reinerson, second choice Rachel Candidate Kincaid. President Luck, first choice was Rachel Candidate Kincaid, and no second choice. Mr. Maker, his first choice is John Reinerson, second choice Rachel Candidate Kincaid. Mr. Murphy's first choice was Tabitha Ramper, second choice John Reinerson.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Keller. Just gonna go through and make sure that we have everybody listed here. Okay, so based on the tallying of points from the ballots that Mrs. Keller just read aloud, Rachel Candidate Kincaid received 8 total points. Katie O'Dell received 1 point. Tabitha Ramberg received 3 points. And John Reinerson received 11 total points. So with that, this evening's new appointed member will be Mr. John Reinerson. And again, thank you to all of you who applied, took your time to be here, showed interest in the position. We look forward to maybe working with you in the future. Of course, at this evening's meeting, we can only appoint 1 person, but there's always openings for school board positions as we go through the years, and the way the cycle works is we have every 2-year cycles for board elections. So thank you all for being here this evening, and we will, I guess with that, I'll go ahead and, we can, yeah, you can do your oath during this meeting before we adjourn, and then we will have an adjournment and a little break before we start our regular board meeting at 6 p.m. So if you want to come forward, you can take your seat. Mrs. Keller will come down and do your initiation.
You're going to take your acceptance of office, and you're going to just read that aloud first.
Okay.
It's on.
Oh. I do hereby accept the office of member of the Board of Education of Linden Community Schools, Michigan.
And then your oath of office, you're going to read this section.
Before me, a notary of public,
Oh, you can just do this part.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the member of the Board of Education of Linden Community Schools, Michigan, according to the best of my ability.
That's it. So you're going to date it and sign it there.
And we will have an official vote of the rest of the board, just as point of interest, since it's listed on here. So I need a motion support to appoint John Reinierson to fill the board vacancy previously held by Michelle Shana to serve until the next school board election in November 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mrs. Keller, do we have any public comments for this evening's meeting? Okay, then with that, at 5:13, we stand adjourned.